Yeah, that's a good comparison, Jack. The freaking like it is really interesting to go back and watch animated shows in their first seasons because like the budget was way lower, and so
Yep.
the animation looks all shoddy and everything. You know what's weird? Like when I was a kid, and I kind of still feel this way, but even as a kid, like when I was like 12, I would like thirst for like season one Simpsons or like season one South Park, Family Guy, because I like just as a creative and as at the time like an aspiring cartoonist, it was so interesting to like look at those early seasons and be like, oh, these like professionals didn't know what the hell they were doing, and it was like there was a charm to like the shoddy animation, because like
100%.
yeah. Yeah, because cartoons aren't supposed to look perfect. They're kind of supposed to look weird, That's what I
And
like
not even
about it.
like, not even just like the way they look, but the characters themselves and like how you like. I went from watching like just casually watching like mid seasons to you go back to the beginning and you're like, the characters are like way more raw and just like
Yeah.
they really have over time zero in on like defining them. But at the beginning, it's just like it's kind of cool to see like the original idea for things.
Yeah, that's really true. What do you think that is actually really true, the characterization, because like people have talked about that that actually was a big what do you call it? That's like a big contention with Family Guy, how all the characters kind of devolved in that show. Like I think the biggest example is like Brian Griffin. Like people are like, oh, he just became like the biggest douche ever. Like the biggest douchebag. I think probably the worst de-evolution would be like Quagmire, if we're being honest. But I mean, because he just became a sex offender essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? Because it's even true. We're talking about pictures and cartoons, but in how these cartoon characters become caricatures of themselves, right? And it's fascinating how, I guess it's just an inherent element of long-term television, right? Because then if you talk about a show like Seinfeld, or if you talk about a show like, you name it, any show that's gone on for longer than like 4 or 5 seasons, Rick and Morty, the characters just basically, it's like every season of a show that passes, it's like season 1, you are the creator and you have this show, and then the show is like hovering over a funnel, and then season 2 they're in it, and then season 3 they start liquefying, and then eventually it's like as seasons go on of a show, like you just end up with whatever the essence of the character was.
Yeah.
Like with Quagmire, like ultimately he's just I mean, for lack of a better term, like an offender, like
A
a
rapist.
predator, exactly.
Like
And
a
it's like that at the beginning of the
100%.
show-
It's not even just implied.
Yes,
like they
it's-
have
no, it's
actual jokes
confirmed.
at this point
Yeah.
where he is, or
Yeah.
scenes where he's literally like roofying it. I mean,
Right.
it's bad.
Or episodes. I remember that episode where like he's late to the airport, and then Peter keeps crashing into his house, and then all these women come running out. The implication being that he was like kidnapping and like
Oh
holding these people
yeah,
hostages,
yeah. I do remember
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So it's like but show those are like gags about the character, and then eventually that just becomes the character. So it's fascinating. How again, I couldn't tell you a show that goes longer than like 7 seasons where that just doesn't happen. It happens
so
to all
true.
these shows.
That is so true, man. It's funny. It doesn't even, and it's not even just with animation. It's like you said, you can see it with all these shows, and it's not even just sitcoms either. Like, I was at my girlfriend's the other day, and she's been like watching, she's been binge watching Dexter, not really binge watching it, but watching it over the past few months. And she just finished season 5, and because I came over to her apartment and she's got it on the TV, and she's like, I'm like, oh, where are you in Dexter? She's like, oh, I'm on like season 6, like episode 3 or 4 or something. And I was like, fuck, I was like, I don't want to, taint your experience, but this is about where I stopped liking the show, because it does, they take like, because I think what happens is like back to the Family Guy example, because that's it's easier to, it's a way easier show to pick on. Like new Family Guy is unwatchable, dude. I tried like I think a year ago to watch like a new episode. It is unfucking watchable. Like if you thought it's so bad, and I know people say that about The Simpsons nowadays too.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know, I'm sure it is. I haven't seen a new episode of The Simpsons probably since I was like 14 years old. And like back then it was like an old ass show. And now Family Guy is like the new Simpsons, because Family Guy's in its like 20 something season. And Simpsons is like in its, I think they're pushing their, they got to be at least on their 35th now, or coming up on their 35th season, because that came out in 1990. But
36.
Like, yeah, oh, that's crazy, man. So like, yeah, so Family Guy, if you kind of put yourself in the shoes of those writers, as that show goes on and you start running real low on creative juices, you know, that creative tank is like, you know, burning sludge at this point. It's like,
Yeah.
it just, those core, like those like that, the character's essence, you know, like Quagmire being a sex offender or Brian being a pretentious douche. It's like, that's just
Right.
the low-hanging fruit. It's easy, you know, and they can just squeeze 20 minutes, or, you know, not even 20 minutes. They can squeeze a 30-second gag here, a 30-second gag there, and that's it.
Isn't it? No, go ahead. I actually like lost my train of thought completely.
It was, yeah, so what was... Oh, I was just gonna.
We both lost our train of thought.
Jack, help! Yeah.
Uh,
All right, show's over, everybody. No,
yeah, go home.
Well, I was gonna pivot a little bit. Have you guys? Did you guys ever see the South Park episode where they actually like visit the Family Guy writers' room?
Yes.
Nope.
Yeah, I know. There are a bunch of like what is it, like dolphins, right?
Manatees.
Yeah.
So,
manatees.
so Jack, basically what it is like it's a 2-part episode called Cartoon Wars, and they actually bring the Simpsons in too. But basically, like, I think it's like Kyle, Stan, and Kenny are like fans of Family Guy, and then Cartman like hates Family Guy, and he's talking about like he's like, guys, there is no story. It is just a series of unrelated jokes and cutaways, you know, and like, and so then he like goes on this. Basically, Family Guy announces that they're like gonna air an episode that is, and for the same reasons that South Park probably is uninterested in repeating this mistake, I'm not going to say what the episode was that they were going to air in the fictional universe of South Park. Hopefully you keep up with this. But suffice to say, it was in the episode of South Park, Family Guy is going to air an episode making fun of a certain religion. And Cartman is like, you know, uses it, you know, because Cartman's an asshole, so he's going to use it as an excuse to try to shut down Family Guy. He's like, no, this has gone too far, you know. And he goes on like this journey, and he makes it all the way to like Los Angeles to the Family Guy writers' room, and they show him. He like goes there under the guise that he's a fan, and they bring him into the writers' room, and it's just an aquarium full of manatees. And idea balls. And so when the manatees push 5 random idea balls into a canister, it becomes an episode or a Family Guy cutaway. So, which isn't too far off, because like, I don't know, Family Guy is such a mixed bag. Like, I love Family Guy for nostalgic reasons, and it is like a fun. It's like a comfort show for me. I do like to throw it on, you know, like especially if it's just like I'm trying to wind down. I need, you know, even if it's been like a rough day or I'm feeling bad about something, like Family Guy is a great, you know, very medicinal. I mean, it to me, Family Guy is like very feel good because like South Park's hilarious, but we've kind of talked about this before, Edward, where South Park's funny, but it's also, for me, and maybe you agree with this, South Park is not as much of a comfort show because of how like mean and sometimes outright grotesque it is.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.